Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward. Welcome to APTN National News. The federal government, the National Children's Chiefs Commission, and the First Nations Child and Family Caring Society submitted their plans to the Canadian Human Rights Tribunal for long-term child welfare reform on Monday. And the head of the Caring Society says their plan is much more thorough than the government's. APTN's Fraser Needham has more.
It's called the Loving Justice Plan, and it's more than 100 pages long. Caring Society Executive Director Cindy Blackstock says their plan is the result of months of deep consultations with First Nations communities.
We did a national consultation outside of Ontario. We got over 105 submissions from First Nations governments, from First Nations organizations, experts, elders, and young people. Their voices are threaded throughout that whole document. And ours actually is based on how do we stop Canada's discrimination and prevent it from happening again.
In contrast, Blackstock says Ottawa's plan is only 22 pages long and largely based on affidavits from a handful of federal civil servants. Nevertheless, the two plans are similar in the funding they call for to address long-term reform in First Nations child and family services. Canada's plan proposes $27 billion from 2027 to 2034 for regions outside of Ontario. The Caring Society and Children's Chiefs Commission's plan calls for $17.5 billion over 5 years. At a press conference in Ottawa on Monday, Indigenous Services Minister Mandy Galmasti said the government is open to working with both the Caring Society and Children's Chiefs Commission. But Blackstock says this has not really been the case so far. From what herself and Vuntut Gwitchin First Nation Chief Pauline Frost, who is chair of the Children's Chiefs Commission, have experienced.
However, their legal submissions have actually said there's no utility in talking to the Caring Society or AFN, and they only wanted to meet with Chief Frost 2 times and felt that was sufficient.
In the coming days, Blackstock says her organization will be doing a more detailed analysis of the government's plan.
In fairness, in 22 pages, there's a lot of questions that we have that aren't answered in that document. That's one of the key pieces, is what are the decisions Canada's holding for itself? What is the discretion that they're giving on those decisions? And how is it holding itself accountable to stop hurting our kids? Those are the big 3 that we need to nail down.
Fraser Needham, APTN National News, Ottawa.
RCMP are investigating a sudden death that occurred December 20th on the Ochapowace First Nation in southern Saskatchewan. The Major Crimes Unit says the death is not considered suspicious. The body of a preteen boy was found between 2 homes around 5 p.m. RCMP say they are aware of speculation that the death may involve an animal mauling, but cannot confirm this. The investigation is ongoing. Police are asking the public not to take vigilant action toward animals and say their next steps will be taken once autopsy results are received. Last week, the Battleford's Tribal Council announced plans to pursue a $230 million infrastructure project, including replacing the Gold Eagle Casino. Now the casino's current rights holders say the Battleford's Tribal Council does not have the authority to do so. In their announcement, the Battleford's Tribal Council said it plans to build a school, arena, affordable housing, and health facilities, as well as replace the Gold Eagle Casino with a new casino, hotel, and spa. Prior to the 2007 Provincial and FSIN Gaming Framework Agreement, Battleford Tribal Council hosted the Gold Eagle Casino. But when that framework came into place, the Battleford's agency tribal chiefs took over. Mosquito, Grizzly Bear's Head, Lean Man First Nations are part of the Battleford's chiefs, and they own the rights to the current casino site. They announced plans to relocate the casino earlier this year. Their chief says they will continue working with the Saskatchewan Indian Gaming Authority to ensure the move benefits everyone.
We're on the right governance as far as making this a reality. All the partners that are at the table, we meet on a bi-weekly basis since the announcement, and we're not stopping. We're moving forward. We're got positive working relationship with the city of North Battleford, with the town of Battleford. You know, we are really excited to see what this will bring to the entire region of the Battlefords.
A First Nation in British Columbia has entered into the acquisition phase of their 5th casino. APTN's Tina House has those details.
The Nanaimo First Nation is in negotiations to once again purchase a casino, but this time it's in Coquitlam, BC, the Great Canadian Casino, formerly known as the Hard Rock Casino.
Our economic development arm, Petroglyph Development Group, or PDG, has entered into a definitive agreement with our partners at Great Canadian Entertainment for PDG to purchase Casino Vancouver.
This will be the 5th casino the First Nation has bought in the last year.
Our casino business now includes Casino Nanaimo, Elements Casino Victoria, and our purchase agreements for River Rock Casino Resort and Chances Maple Ridge. We are honored to expand our economic portfolio in Coquitlam, and we do so with deep gratitude to the generations of Nanaimo whose big work, leadership, and vision made this moment possible. These opportunities are not taken lightly. They are the result of thoughtful, measured decision-making guided by our elders and ancestors, and by our responsibility to build a strong and resilient Nanaimo economy.
For the purchase of the River Rock Casino, the Nanaimo First Nation partnered with the Musqueam Indian Band. In a statement, Matthew Affinson, the CEO of Great Canadian Entertainment, said, "We are pleased to pass this legacy into the hands of the Nanaimo First Nation and the vision they hold for the business's future. We have every confidence that PDG and Nanaimo will continue to elevate this and their other properties for years to come." The sale of the casino is still subject to regulatory approvals. Tina House, APTN National News, Vancouver.
Earlier this month, Resilience Montreal and the Native Women's Shelter of Montreal organized a vigil for the community to honor the lives of those who've used shelters and who have also passed away since June 2024. Our journalist Stephanie Ducev shares the story.
Glenn, also known as Lex, Annie Angetigert, Victor Derry. May they rest in peace.
Despite the cold and falling snow, roughly 100 people gathered for a memorial service in honor of the 33 people who died since June 2024. They gathered at Cabot Square in downtown Montreal. Some had lost a sister, a cousin, or a colleague. For many, this vigil was their only opportunity for mourning.
C'est un honneur de les avoir avec nous. Merci.
26 or more of the deceased had stayed in shelters, and according to the organizers, 70% of them were Indigenous. During the songs, people were invited to pray near the sacred fire, where they could take tobacco and throw it into the fire while remembering loved ones.
Puis le tambour, ben, comme vous le savez, c'est l'instrument du cœur. L'instrument du cœur qui nous aide à apaiser la souffrance.
We're living in challenging times as a city.
Anissé Papillard-Luc could barely hold back her tears when talking about her sister Lucy.
And I grew up with her all my life. I thought I was never going to lose her, but it was time for her to go.
Papillard-Luc says Lucy died of a brain tumor and heart problems in March 2025. Marie-Lou Maisonneuve is the coordinator of Indigenous initiatives at the only Indigenous cafe in Montreal, the Roundhouse Cafe. Maisonneuve took the mic to honor two of her former employees, starting with May Ituk.
Tout le monde s'est attaché rapidement à elle et nous aimions avoir des conversations avec elle tout en travaillant.
Everyone called her Pinky.
Pinky aimait apprendre et elle aimait travailler avec grand soin, bien faire les choses.
May Pinky Ituk passed away in December of last year. Maisonneuve honored the memory of another barista who participated in the employability program, Leila Pemidzewin Twinish.
Elle avait une voix si douce, autant en parlant qu'en chantant.
Twinish passed away in April of this year.
It's absolutely devastating to have to do these, but it's really important, you know?
Nakosset would like to no longer organize such events. In the 10 years since the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, she insists that little has been done.
It should have already been completed, but only 15 have been completed of the calls to justice. So I think that says a lot. It says that society really doesn't care about implementing anything. So then it affects services for Indigenous people when they have to go to the hospital, when they have to call the police, when they have to, find housing. There's so much discrimination, racism, and it's not getting better.
Qui emporte ces prières-là au Créateur.
The last memorial vigil was held in June of last year. It honored 37 lives lost over the past 3 years. This one highlighted the lives of almost as many people in half the time. Stéphanie de Sèvres, APTN National News, Montréal.
Time for a quick break, and then we'll tell you about a unique Christmas basket initiative. Stick around. Welcome back. The Council of the Ochapowace First Nation have set up a community Christmas basket initiative. It's to feed their members who are scattered throughout the province of Quebec, Canada, and even the United States. Kim Sullivan traveled to Kakuna in the lower St. Lawrence region to learn more.
Aujourd'hui, on va en faire 425.
Nation employee Nancy Dumont is talking about Christmas baskets. She's in the final stage of packing these, filled with either fish or traditional game meat. Once the boxes are ready,
Après ça, ici, on a un beau morceau de saumon.
Patrice Larrivée will travel to the north shore of the St. Lawrence River to distribute them.
Après ça, on a encore des pétanques ici, oui. Ça, c'est bon.
Ici, on a le Wolastoquk, qui est le territoire traditionnel.
The Wolastoqiyik First Nation, also known as the Malisit First Nation of Vigil, is the only Wolastoqey nation in Quebec. After the loss of the Vigil reserve lands in 1869, the Quebec government purchased a piece of land in Kakuna to create the Kakuna 22 Reserve. Measuring 0.18 hectares, less than half the size of a football field, Kakuna 22 is the smallest reserve in the country.
C'est pour ça qu'aujourd'hui, on a assisté à un exode et que nos gens sont répartis un peu partout à travers la province. En fait, la province, le Nouveau-Brunswick, les États-Unis.
The general director of the Wolastoqiyik First Nation, Larry Jennis, says that since the Wolastoqey are spread so widely, the implementation of cultural initiatives is essential.
La nation était considérée comme a été reconnue par le gouvernement du Québec en 1989. Donc pour nous, on est un peu à l'adolescence ou au début de l'âge adulte de notre renaissance. Donc pour nous, c'est des gestes d'affirmation, c'est des façons de reconnecter puis de ramener nos gens, de se réapproprier cette culture-là.
It's why they launched a community Christmas basket initiative 10 years ago.
C'est une façon de contrer la hausse des coûts de la nourriture, mais c'est aussi une façon de goûter aux produits du territoire, donc de rester connecté avec ce territoire-là.
And an opportunity to meet up with community members.
Ça permet, je dirais, d'aller au-delà de cette barrière-là de la distance qui s'est créée avec les années.
Logistics aren't easy. Registration begins in April, followed by community fishing and hunting in the fall, preparing and receiving the goods, assembling and filling the boxes, and finally distributing them in time for Christmas.
On parle de 18 endroits différents, donc où on envoie les denrées à nos membres, où ils peuvent aller cueillir leurs boîtes. En plus de ces 18 endroits-là, on a des gens qui vivent en région éloignée, où il faut envoyer par bateau, par autobus. On va rejoindre des gens qui sont sur la côte nord du fleuve, dans des régions où il n'y a pas de service de route.
Despite the cold, Simon Gabriel Tremblay-Brisson and Nancy are not complaining.
Ça vaut vraiment la peine. On aime ça.
Ça rend du monde heureux.
C'est le plaisir de redonner à la communauté.
Except for the tape that doesn't seem to want to cooperate in this cold.
Je pense pas que j'ai la patience requise pour faire le tapage aujourd'hui.
Catherine Plourde is at her 7th year participating in this initiative.
On a un morceau de bavette, un morceau de fondue chinoise.
In total, more than 1,000 boxes of fish will be handed out and more than 1,300 boxes of game.
C'est plus que de la nourriture pour le corps, c'est de la nourriture pour l'esprit, pour le cœur. C'est des occasions de créer des connexions pour les gens. Donc, c'est beaucoup plus que simplement de la nourriture.
It's a lot of joy coming out of such a small land base. Kim Sullivan, APTN National News, Kakuna 22 in Quebec.
Thanks for that, Kim. Earlier this month, the University of Quebec in Montreal launched the 6th edition of the magazine on perseverance and academic success among First Nations peoples. It was also the 10th anniversary of this unique scientific publication. Stephanie Ducev tells us more.
L'éducation est la pierre angulaire de notre passé, du présent, mais aussi de notre futur.
Regional Chief of the AFNQL and the Minister of Quebec Families both attended the launch.
Plus que jamais, il y a des jeunes et moins jeunes, en fait, qui vont obtenir leur diplôme.
The Quebec Minister of Families, Catherine Champagne-Jourdain, recalled her personal struggles at school.
J'avais de la misère à figurer pourquoi j'apprenais tout ce que j'apprends au secondaire, à quoi ça me servirait. Vous savez, pour moi, ça m'aura pris en tout et partout entre 7 et 8 ans pour terminer mon secondaire. Ça a été difficile pour moi parce que fort probablement, c'était complexe de me projeter dans le futur, de voir ce que là où j'aurais une pertinence, où j'aurais un apport significatif. C'était important pour moi.
Minister Champagne-Jourdain is Innu from Makimani-Utanam. Her parents gave her an important tool, perseverance.
Finalement, j'ai persévéré. J'ai persévéré parce que j'avais des parents qui croyaient en l'éducation, des parents qui étaient bien outillés pour m'accompagner là-dedans. Mais ce n'est pas le cas de tout le monde. On ne vient pas tous au monde avec la même boîte à outils.
She also believes perseverance must be passed on.
Actuellement, eh bien, je vis ça avec mes enfants, l'arbre. Mais je peux constater que comparativement à mon époque, ils sont beaucoup mieux outillés.
In 2022, Catherine Champagne-Jourdain made Quebec history. She became the first Indigenous woman appointed to the Quebec National Assembly, 61 years after the election of the first non-Indigenous woman. Marco Bacon is the founder of the magazine and of the symposium. He points out that the articles can also become tools.
Ben déjà, vous avez déjà des initiatives, des choses que vous pourriez tout de suite appliquer en adaptant un petit peu selon la nation. De l'appliquer tout de suite dans votre classe, dans votre environnement. Mais vous avez un nom de la personne, de communiquer avec, puis peut-être partir une collaboration.
Since its first edition, the scientific magazine has published 115 articles. The magazine will be available after the holidays in schools, colleges, and friendship centers. Stéphanie Dossev, APTN National News, Montréal.
A new episode of Face to Face is coming up in just a few minutes from now. We'll bring you a preview after the break. Welcome back. Time now for our photo of the day. And Christmas is coming, and Kelsey Weber shared this picture of little Adeline waiting for Santa with some cookies and milk. Thanks for sharing. We want to see how you're spending the holiday season. You can email your pictures to share@aptn.ca. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Starting on the East Coast, -5 for Fredericton, cloudy, and 2 below for Halifax. 16 below for Kuujjuaq and Cartwright. -1 with the sun out in Montreal, 8 below for Chibougamau. Cloudy and -4 for Sault Ste. Marie. sunny and -1 for Ottawa. -3 for Thunder Bay, cloudy and 9 below for Sioux Lookout. -17 for God's Lake, Norway House, Puckatawagan, and the Paw. 6 below for Winnipeg, -10 in Dauphin. -7 for Regina, 14 below for Saskatoon. -26 for Uranium City, 18 below for Meadow Lake. Chilly in northern Alberta, -26 for High Level, 24 below for Fort Chipewyan. -18 in Edmonton, 6 below for Lethbridge. +4 with snow for Vancouver, 5 with snow in Victoria. -14 in Prince George, 27 below for Dease Lake. -33 in Dawson, 39 below for Watson Lake. -24 for Yellowknife, 28 below in Wrigley. -16 for Sax Harbor, 14 below for Paulatuck. 23 below for Chesterfield and Baker Lake, -22 in Whale Cove. -29 for Resolute, 31 below for Arctic Bay. Anishinaabe comedian and content creator Sherry McKay joins TR Wheatley on a new episode of Face to Face, airing in just a few minutes from now. McKay talks about topics big in the social media realm right now, including sharing her views on pretendianism.
It's in a weird space where I feel like it's gross, but at the same time, I feel empathy towards people who, I don't know, who grift into race shifting for, I don't know if it's for financial gain or monetary, or if it's like an emotional thing, because we're such a welcoming group and community, like Indigenous people, we're very welcoming. And so I feel like because of that, so many people have been able to like get in there and claim their indigeneity. And it kind of just feels like, you know, the level of trust has gone smaller and smaller. And I've made videos with people who were called out as pretendians in my early TikTok videos. And it wasn't until afterwards I was like, dang, that I should have, you know, but you don't think of it. Like, can I see your trading card? You know, can I see your blood quantum? Like, that's weird because those are also things that we talk about, you know, being like in this colonial construct. So
it's an episode you won't want to miss, and it is just 90 seconds or so away from now. We're all out of time for your APTN National News for this Tuesday, Christmas Eve. TR will be here at 1 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow for your Christmas Eve news. And never miss a story by visiting our website, aptnnews.ca. I'm Dennis Ward. Marcy Miigwech, thanks for being with us. Stick around. Face to Face is next. Have a great night.